Eternity's Account, Book 1, Stones of Fire. Written by Julie Bryson and Catherine Sharp. Performed by Julie Bryson. Introduction. Have you ever wondered about the legends of ancient times here on Earth? About why countless stories with eerily similar themes repeat themselves over time, transcending various cultures? The key to this question is in the patterns. Patterns are found throughout every aspect of life, and this was the lesson that the royal children of Afar learned. The time is somewhere in the future, and the place is best described as a parallel universe. Afar is equivalent to the planet Earth, and their universe mimics our own in many ways. The people of Afar are called Palos, and the Second Age is about to come to an abrupt end. Their chosen 12 have been well trained for the time at hand. They have been taught the patterns of their cherished story of old and come to rely on the very words that construct their destiny. The chosen 12 are spread out over the capital city and paired off in strategic military positions. They are about to exchange their robes for armor and their scarves for helmets, for they are becoming soldiers on this day. The two posted in the palace are to watch for the designated signs before sounding the alarm. To the north of the city, they see a movement that appears to be a cloud of dust stirring. Sign 1 has been identified. Now for the second sign. Mia and Miklehi prepare the order for the trumpet to be blown for battle. "Are we sure that the time has come?" asked Mia. "Do you remember what Rashawn taught us?" Miklehi responds. "The very stars of the sky scream out the season. Have them blow it now. Let the enemy be put down." "Wait! We have not seen the second sign." Immediately, the cloud of dust comes into focus with the king's adversary in the lead. The lioness faces of the vanguard are set as stone toward the palace. A sundry group of Paloses make up the remaining ranks, kicking up the earth of the north. The eastern sky flashes with a bolt of lightning, drawing their eyes to the ensign of the approaching troops. A triangular pennant whips in the eastern wind, bearing the second sign. "Now!" The air thickens as Miklehi screams the orders. "Blow it now!" The warning rings out over the hills, through the valleys, and echoes into the gorges. The gorge keepers heed the warning by shooting flares into the sky. The flares draw the east and west chiefs out of their stations to fire the cannons for the north and the south. Soon the warning spreads over the entire planet. King Yehoshua's kingdom of peace on Afar is soon to be transformed. His enemies are ascending for the final battle of rebellion. The ground begins to quiver. Mia closes her eyes tightly. She can feel her blood running through her arms and legs as the earth's quivers turn into jolts. Mia works to calm herself. "I must keep control," she thought. "Heart, slow down. Breathe. Open your eyes." As her eyes open, she whispers, "Rashawn told us it would be like this. The patterns repeat themselves, so I know the ending. It has been foretold from the beginning. Think. How does the story go? I have to remember." Unexpectedly, Mia's heart slows as the earth's jolting becomes a rocking motion. A peace overcomes her as the words of Rashawn form in her mind. Her head becomes heavy as it sways from side to side. Suddenly, Mia finds herself back in the classroom of her youth with Miklehi and her beloved Rashawn sitting in the middle of the floor holding the book of Tabnethiod. Chapter 1, Olinthial. Rashawn, the keeper of secrets, sat in the center of the classroom waiting for the children's excitement to quiet so he could begin. His platinum hair was pulled back and his beard perfectly trimmed. He, too, had been waiting for this infamous day of instruction. As the keeper of secrets, Rashawn's libraries were filled with books and scrolls from Afar's lost kingdoms, ancient days, and the First Age. He was charged with passing down the story of old to the chosen ones. Rashawn was the kingdom's chief librarian, historian, astronomer, and storyteller. It was his family that had collected the unaltered story of old through the generations. They had taken residence in the court of every kingdom since the beginning of the Second Age. "Children," Rashawn called out to his audience, "sit and learn." On his lap lay the book of Tabnethiod. At the beginning of the Kingdom of Peace, King Yehoshua had given it to him to use on this very day. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary book, but it was not. It was a special book with extraordinary power. Unbeknownst to the children, they were about to embark on the adventure of a lifetime. The book's cover was gilded with scarlet red and sapphire blue lettering. The title brightened as they concentrated on it. While all eyes fixed on the cover, it began to move. Some saw the letters swirl while others saw them melt. The book drew each person into its passages differently so that its secrets could be fully understood, making Rashawn's job much easier. The Book of Tabnethiod held the secrets of the 3 ages. The story of old was found within its pages, which told of their age, the 2nd age. It was a lifeline for all those who followed the king's teachings. The children knew the importance of learning it in order to fulfill their calling. Rashawn's voice seemed to boom across the room as he spoke the first words from the book. "Or the glorious one," he began. The children's breathing pattern was in perfect rhythm with Rashawn's voice. Each heartbeat combined into one forceful strike. The room's rhythm melded itself into the pattern of the book. As Rashawn read, the children saw images dancing across the pages while the letters lit up in their minds. Soon there was not one child left in the room. They were in the pages of the book, entering the 1st age. These children had been chosen from the beginning by King Yehoshua to experience the 1st age and totality of the story of old. In order for them to be transported back before the establishment of time, a dimensional and physical transformation had to be made. The Book of Tabnethiod became their transporter. As the children traveled through the book's pages, the atmosphere around afar became heavily saturated with oxygen and tightly enclosed by its cosmic surroundings. The children could feel the increased oxygen. With each breath, they grew stronger. The dimension of time folded in on itself, creating a timeless vacuum. Moments passed, but no longer were memories linear. In their minds, all memories ran together like a painted picture that showed no first or last stroke of a brush. Their new memories simply added detail to their already constructed picture. The moment the children entered the pages, the planets, the stones of fire as they knew them, realigned to their positions during the 1st age. The universe was a perfect sphere again, with afar as the center neatly wrapped in the atmosphere of the waves, which was wrapped in the cosmos and Olinthial. Rashawn's words, "Or the glorious one," rang out into the children's ears as they huddled together tightly. They had successfully traveled back through the Book of Tabnethiod and arrived in the 1st age, before time had been established and where all things lived and moved within 10 dimensions. Upon their arrival, everything was blurry and moved like shadows over serene water. The children's murmuring grew in intensity as confusion took over. Rashawn quickly took the reins. "Children, calm down. I am still here. It will take a moment for our bodies to adjust. We are no longer on afar. We are in Olinthial," said Rashawn. Olinthial is the outer portion of the universe. We are beyond the skies of afar and even beyond the cosmos itself. "Why are my legs tingling?" asked Mia. "Our bodies are limited to 4 dimensions: height, depth, width, and time. We are not accustomed to moving within the other 6. However, today we will. It will be just a moment more before our skin and senses become acclimated," assured Rashawn. "Why is it so bright if we are beyond the cosmos?" asked Morris. "Have patience. I assure you that all of your questions will soon be answered," Rashawn informed them as he waited for their senses to sharpen. Just as he promised, their eyes focused and their ears heard things they could not identify. Calmness covered them as beauty filled their vision. A great light floated toward them. The children were mystified and intrigued. A comforting, gentle voice welcomed them into Olinthial. It was Or, the glorious one. His presence was enormous, and the Paloses dwarfed in comparison. Yet they were at ease in his presence. "Welcome, children. I am pleased to see you have arrived exactly as planned," Or stated in his clear and gentle voice. "Rashawn, you did well holding on to the Book of Tabnethiod on your journey here." He looked at the children and back to Rashawn. I want you to get a feel for the universe as I created it. You will be given a tour of all the pertinent sites before your grand adventure begins. It is vital that you rely on what you have been taught and share your knowledge with them. Or finished speaking, he guided them towards the amphitheater. As they walked through Olinthial's capital, Salem, they immediately noticed how bright their surroundings were, yet no sun could be seen. They saw lush vineyards laced between the buildings as far as the eye could see. From a distance, they saw the Olinthial Hall, and beyond that, the great temple, which was an enormous structure with a vast river flowing from the porch and then splitting into several directions throughout Olinthial. The outer walls of the temple were built with materials found only in Olinthial, which were unidentifiable to the visitors, but looked like translucent, melted jewels swirled together. "What makes that temple look like it is floating?" asked Morris. "I am not sure," answered Rashawn, or turned his head to respond. "Here things exist in a multitude of dimensional levels. I feel confident that before this is over, you will understand." A flurry of lights came into focus as a group of angelic beings approached the children. "They are so big," Megan stated. "What is that animal with those men?" Andrew asked while looking at Rashawn for an explanation. Rashawn's face lit up as he realized he was about to meet an embark, which is an ox-type creature. After a brief introduction to the group of angelics, Orr ushered the children forward. "Did everyone get to meet an angelic being?" Rashawn asked, hoping to engage the children in discussion as they followed Orr toward the amphitheater. "We met some really big guys," Mickley said as he pointed to his friend Connor. "Those are not guys. They are something else," Mia challenged. Rashawn jumped in to clarify. "The large men are angelics. They are called Malaks and are able to change their size and appearance. They are not flesh and blood like we are. They simply resemble our form. I saw some of you speaking to an embark. How was that?" "I could not believe that buffalo could talk," admitted Megan. "Megan, that buffalo is an angelic ox," Rashawn replied. "But isn't an ox another word for cow?" "It was too beautiful to be a cow." Rashawn chuckled. "Yes, the embarks are beautiful creatures." He then asked, "Who spoke to an Ishai?" Morris raised his hand and said, "I did. He let me touch his wings. They felt like satin." "I remember seeing pictures of Isham on afar. Are they the only angelics with wings?" "I thought there were other pictures of winged creatures too," Aaron remarked. "There are other angelic beings that have wings," Rashawn answered, "but only the Isham have the long flowing hair and resemble men. The others are the cherubim and the seraphim. Hopefully we will see them at some point." The group was full of chatter as they continued to follow Orr. The amphitheater was high above the ground of Olinthial. The children climbed up what appeared to be the hillside into a magnificent stadium. The lower section resembled an orchestra stage, with a conductor's platform directly front and center. With excitement, each of the children sat in a chair near the conductor's platform. Suddenly, a flurry of activity appeared around the children. They stared past Orr and Rashawn as they realized they were surrounded by angelic beings. Orr's tender eyes looked over his audience as he gestured to Rashawn to take the center stage and open the Book of Tabnithiod. Orr pointed to where Rashawn was to begin. The children's gaze returned to Rashawn as he started to read. "Some things are more easily understood if you simply go back to their origin." Rashawn read an overall description of all existence as Orr made his exit. "Everything good is housed within the massive sphere we call the universe. It is held together by invisible boundaries butted up against a hollow blackness that is locked beyond the universal walls called the Great Unknown. Within the sphere, one can freely move between the heavens towards its center, afar." Rashawn closed the book and looked at the children. Their faces were lit up with anticipation. "Is that it?" asked a child. "Just wait. You will see for yourself," remarked Rashawn as a clear dome formed over their small section of the stage and continued underneath them as well. The center section of the stage converted into a hovering shuttle resembling a small space pod. "It is time for a grand tour of the first age," Rashawn announced as he took his seat on the conductor's platform and positioned himself at the control panel set into the clear dome. The shuttle moved northward by preset coordinates that Rashawn could see on the panel. The children had never traveled in anything with such great speed. Inside the craft, there was very little movement, yet outside, the streaking of lights and blurred scenery testified to their sonic pace. Their tour would take them into the center of the universe, then back again following the shuttle's programmed coordinates, or had arranged their path. The tour began in Olinthial, the outer perimeter of the universal sphere. As the children looked through the shuttle's protective shield, they saw flashes of various angelic beings moving around them. Olinthial's light was produced by Or, therefore, there was no other source of light as the children were accustomed to, for Or's light radiated throughout the universe. With his light, his very presence was made known and covered everything. All of Or's direct creations generated an eternal light, which was reflected through their outer coverings. The children were fascinated by the multitude of lights moving within Or's pure light. The shuttle carried them through Olinthial, where they saw lush landscapes, private dwellings, other buildings, and the great temple, the place of Or's throne. "What is that strong glare from?" Miklehi noted. "Is that water?" "No, that is blue tourmaline, the gem that water is made to look like," answered Rashawn. "There are seas and streams here, but if you notice, they too all shine like precious gems." As the shuttle drew near to the northern sector of Olinthial, the passengers could see 7 beautiful mountains, each made of illustrious gems projecting a radiant mix of colors in every direction. The center mountain was superior in height and size. It was formed out of white alabaster, capped with a majestic sapphire throne. It was the throne of the coming king. From above the throne, 24 azure stars could be seen. Once inside the northern sector, a digital simulation of an orchard, complete with beautiful trees, could be seen from the shuttle. The actual orchard lay directly below the throne of afar, but the replica image was nothing short of breathtaking. As their craft lowered and hovered over the sector, small holes opened within the protective shield. Trans-dimensional blossoms came to life, releasing an intoxicating aroma sweeter than nectar throughout their aircraft. The mature blossoms produced fruit that tickled the imagination, as the aroma hinted to the delectable, satisfying taste. Their craft moved below the treetops and glided through the massive orchard. The shuttle moved into the center of the orchard where a distinctive tree stood. It was by far the most splendid of them all. Its mighty limbs branched in every direction, resembling thousands of trees. Their circumference was greater than that of their shuttle, and they circled the tree several times for a closer examination. Rashawn studied the tree closely. He had seen sketches of this tree in his library as well as in the Book of Tabnithiad. "Children," Rashawn began, "this is a replica of the eternal tree. You may remember the stories of the eternal tree on afar. Well, this is what it looks like. There was a prophecy regarding this tree in the first age. It said, all who ate its fruit at the appointed time would be given power and would be preserved in their current state from eternity to eternity." "Can we eat from it?" Andrew piped out. "That would not be wise," Rashawn responded before returning to his monologue. The prophecy also warned the angelics about false fruits and gifts that would thwart Or's purpose. It was foretold that counterfeit gifts would appear. If unlocked, the counterfeit gift would produce poisonous fruit. All were instructed to not accept false gifts. They were assured that as long as they did not accept them, the poison would remain bound. Rashawn continued to examine the tree. He remained amazed at the tree's size and beauty. The lights across the control panel lit up and the coordinate signals changed. "I believe we are leaving this area. Take your seats." The children took in one last breath of the intoxicating aroma of the trees before their shuttle jetted toward the east. After sailing over miles of treetops, open fields, and vineyards, they saw a collection of shapes in the distance. Then the children recognized the Olinthial Hall and Great Temple. Exhilaration filled the air as the shuttle zoomed above the temple and then out toward a massive, broad gate. Once again, the lights across the control panel flickered and lit up the front of the craft. "It looks like we are leaving Olinthial," Rashawn warned before the shuttle headed inward toward the cosmos. As Rashawn and the children exited Olinthial on their grand tour, Orr entered the Olinthial Hall, which was the building that stood near the Great Temple. In the center of the hall stood Orr's command post, the Table of Happenings. The table was massive. The top of it resembled a sea of glass. It glistened and moved like water. The outward appearance of the table had established dimensions, but when one gazed into it, it was endless. The sides were sheets of diamonds welded together with pure white gold. Every attribute of the table was reflective, even its crystal legs. Orr approached the table, and his eyes darted back and forth as he studied the images dancing beneath its surface. He focused on one spot. An image rose to the table's surface. "This will be a good place to start," he whispered softly. Orr gently lifted the image and blew it into the air. The image of a cherub and 2 Malaks streamed across the room, struck a large brazen door, and then disappeared into a small theater.